My name is Jessica. I'm 25 years old, living in what feels like a typical suburban town. But what's happened recently is anything but typical. My story. It's deeply unsettling and frankly, terrifying. I'm still grappling with it, searching for answers, for any kind of explanation. I'm sharing this hoping someone, anyone, might shed some light, offer an interpretation. Because I'm lost and honestly, I'm scared. It revolves around my younger brother, Michael. He's 17, a typical teenager in many ways, always out with friends, glued to his phone, pushing curfew. He'd usually roll in sometime between 9:30 and 11 p.m. Never really later than that. He was always just out, playing soccer in the park, hanging out at the strip mall, the usual stuff. Then came that night. It was around 9 p.m. A frantic, heavy pounding erupted at our front door. Not just a knock, but a desperate banging that shook the frame. My mom, startled, said, "Jessica, honey, go see who that is." Maybe it's Mr. Henderson about the rent finally? We were a little late that month, and Mr. Henderson could be persistent. "Tell him I'm not here," she added quickly. "If he asks, say we'll have it in a couple of days. No worries." I threw on a hoodie, the one I always keep by the door for quick trips to the corner store or unexpected visitors, and opened the door. What I saw made my blood run cold. It wasn't Mr. Henderson. It was a group of Michael's friends, their faces pale with panic, carrying Michael limp in their arms. He was completely unconscious. "What happened? What's wrong with him?" I stammered, pulling them inside. My first thought, irrational but powerful, was Mom can't see him like this. You know how mothers can be. They see a scratch and imagine a mortal wound. I didn't want her spiraling. "Bring him in here. Lay him down." I directed them to the living room couch. "Quick, tell me what happened." One of the boys, trembling, managed to explain. "We were just playing soccer down at the old construction site. You know, the one off Miller Road that's been half finished for years? Kicking the ball around. Mike was there 1 minute, then he just vanished. We figured he'd headed home early." My stomach twisted. "Go on." "Then, maybe half an hour later, we heard screaming. Another kid chimed in, his voice cracking. A horrible, loud scream. It sounded like Mike. We ran towards the site, towards that main unfinished building, the skeletal frame. We found him. He'd collapsed on the bottom landing of the internal stairs." "He just passed out?" I asked, checking his breathing. Thank God he was breathing, shallow but steady, just unconscious. "Yeah, just out cold," the first boy confirmed. "We picked him up and ran straight here. We swear, Jessica, we don't know what happened before that." They looked genuinely terrified and confused. Teenagers aren't usually that good at faking something like this. Just then, more knocking. Another group of Mike's friends. We heard the screaming too. One of them gasped. "We called 911. How is he? Is he okay? Did he wake up?" "No," I whispered, relief washing over me that help was on the way. "He's still out." As if on cue, we heard the sirens approaching. The paramedics arrived quickly. As they were checking Michael, my mom came out, saw the scene, and the predictable breakdown began. Tears, cries, pacing. I tried to reassure her, "Mom, it's okay. He just fainted. They're taking him to the hospital to check him out. He's breathing fine." I rode in the ambulance with Michael. The silence was heavy, broken only by the rhythmic beeping of monitors and the siren's wail fading in the distance. Then, halfway to the hospital, Michael's eyes fluttered open. He looked around, disoriented. Jessica? Where? Where am I? Why am I here? Then, his eyes widened with sudden urgency. My book. Where's my book? The one I had. Where is it? Book? Mike, what are you talking about? I asked, confused. You just collapsed, honey. We're going to the hospital. The female paramedic, Olivia, leaned over kindly. Hey there, champ. Welcome back. Can you tell us what happened? Did you fall at that construction site? Michael completely ignored her. His gaze was fixed on something beyond her, scanning the ambulance frantically, patting the gurney beneath him. Where did you find me? Exactly where? Was the book there? Then, his head snapped towards Olivia. He stared at her, an unnerving intensity in his eyes. Olivia, he said, his voice strangely calm but cold. I need to tell you something, for God's sake. You and the driver. 3 days ago, you stole something from that electronics store on Main Street. You should return it. It would be better for you. I froze, mortified. Mike, stop it. You're confused. But Olivia. Her reaction terrified me more than Michael's words. Her professional composure vanished. Color drained from her face. Sweat beaded on her forehead, and her hands visibly trembled. She looked utterly panicked. Before I could say anything else, Michael suddenly lunged towards the front of the ambulance, banging on the partition. Stop. Stop the ambulance. I said, stop now. He screamed with surprising force. The driver, startled, slammed on the brakes. Instantly, Olivia turned to him, her voice high-pitched and strained. I just got an urgent text, an emergency. I have to go, now. You take him the rest of the way to the hospital. I'll follow up later. Without another word, she scrambled out of the back of the ambulance the second it stopped, practically tripping over herself. I watched through the rear window as she darted across the empty street, looking back fearfully, and disappeared into the darkness. It made no sense. She hadn't received a text. Paramedics don't just abandon patients. A chilling unease settled deep within me. At the hospital, the doctors ran tests. Physically, Michael was fine. No concussion, no injuries. Just exhaustion and dehydration, they said. They released him after a few hours. Michael kept muttering about Olivia. See? She ran because she's a thief. I exposed her. I just wanted to get him home, hoping sleep would clear whatever fog had settled over his mind. Back home, Mom fussed over him, but Michael barely acknowledged her. He went straight to his room, shut the door, and didn't come out. The next day, I found him standing motionless in the hallway, staring intently at my older sister's bedroom door. My sister, Lisa, had moved back in with us about 6 months ago after separating from her husband, who had cheated on her. Mike, how are you feeling? I asked gently. Everything okay? No headache? He turned slowly, his eyes distant. Jessica, he said, ignoring my questions. Look at her door. Lisa, she's bringing embarrassment on this family. You have to make her stop. Stop what, Mike? What are you talking about? She's talking to him right now, he hissed, his voice low. Her ex, the one who betrayed her. She's trying to convince him to take her back, planning to meet him at the Mill Creek Cafe later today. He's lying to her, Jessica. He'll only hurt her again. She won't find happiness there. You need to stop it. My breath caught. How could he know? I quickly knocked on Lisa's door. She opened it, looking flustered, quickly putting her phone down. What? She snapped, clearly annoyed. Lisa, I started hesitantly. Were you just talking to Mark? Her eyes widened, first in anger, then in shock. How? How did you know? Were you listening at the door? She lowered her voice. Yes, he called me. We were just talking. He suggested meeting at the Mill Creek Cafe. She trailed off, staring at me. But how could you possibly know that? I wasn't on speakerphone. I mumbled something about guessing, feeling dizzy. I went back to Michael, who just gave me a knowing, unsettling look. How did you know, Mike? I whispered. The four men in black told me, he replied simply. As if stating the weather. They tell me everything. The who? The four men. They always wear black, he said, his eyes drifting back to Lisa's door. A few days later, more drama. Mr. Henderson, our landlord, came banging on the door again, louder this time, demanding the rent. Michael answered it. He was out there talking to him for nearly half an hour. When Michael came back inside, he had this strange, almost smug smile on his face. What happened? Mom asked nervously. Don't worry, Mom, Michael said airily. I handled it, sent him on his way. Not 5 minutes later, Mom's phone rang. It was Mr. Henderson. I could overhear her side of the conversation, filled with confused really? And are you sure? She hung up, looking completely bewildered. That was Mr. Henderson, she said slowly. He said not to worry about the rent. Pay it whenever. If we have it, great. If not, don't stress. He said not to worry about it from now on. She shook her head. He's never talked like that before. I found Michael in the hallway later. Mike, I demanded, what did you say to Mr. Henderson? He just shrugged, that same unsettling smile playing on his lips. Nothing much. Just reminded him of an old matter he probably wouldn't want getting out. That's all. My fear was escalating. What old matter? How did Michael know anything about Mr. Henderson? The strangest incident happened about a week after that. A woman and her daughter came to visit. Neighbors I didn't recognize. They sat with Mom and Lisa in the living room. I was in the kitchen making coffee when Michael appeared beside me, grabbing my arm. His hand was ice cold. Hold on, Jessica, Michael whispered, his voice low and urgent, his grip tightening. His skin felt unnaturally cold. Those women in there? Yeah. Neighbors, I think. I replied, trying to pull my arm away gently. They're not just neighbors, he said, his eyes fixed on the living room door. They're here for you. To ask for your hand in marriage. What? Marriage? For who? I laughed nervously. For their son, Michael stated flatly. The woman, Mrs. Peterson, she has a son. But listen to me, Jessica. Listen. You cannot marry him. He's bad news. He's an addict, drinks heavily every single night. He's been arrested multiple times. Assault, DUIs. He has a record down at the precinct. How could he possibly know this about strangers? Before I could process, he pushed me slightly towards the living room. Go, take them the coffee. But you know the truth now. My hands trembled as I carried the coffee tray. The woman, Mrs. Peterson, beamed at me. Jessica, dear, sit down, sit down. We were just telling your mother. Well, the truth is, We've come today hoping to arrange a match between you and my son, David." She launched into a glowing description of David. Hardworking, quiet, responsible, a real homebody. It sounded like she was describing a saint, a stark contrast to Michael's chilling warning. My heart pounded. I had to know. Taking a deep breath, I interrupted her politely. "Miss S. Peterson, excuse me for asking. It's just, well, this is important. Your son, David, has he ever been arrested? Maybe spent any time in county lockup?" The smile vanished from Miss S. Peterson's face like a switched-off light. Her daughter shifted uncomfortably. Mrs. Peterson's face paled, then flushed red. She stammered, "Well, boys will be boys. Misunderstandings. Some bad influences, perhaps, but that's all behind him now. He's a good boy, really." Her eyes darted around the room, avoiding mine. I pressed on, my voice barely a whisper, but steady. "And does he have any issues? Maybe with drinking?" That did it. Miss S. Peterson stood up abruptly, knocking her coffee cup slightly. I think we should be going," she said, grabbing her daughter's arm. She looked at her daughter. "Let's go, dear. It seems this isn't meant to be." They practically fled the house, offering only the briefest, coldest goodbye. My mother and Lisa stared at me, mouths agape. "Jessica, how did you know that?" Lisa demanded. "Where did you hear those things about her son?" I knew his sister from high school." I lied, the excuse feeling flimsy even as I said it. "He always had a bit of a reputation. It was weak, but it was all I could think of." Later, I confronted Michael again. "How, Mike? How did you know about that woman's son?" He just looked tired. "I told you, Jessica, the 4 men in black, they show me things. They tell me things." He pointed again towards an empty corner of his room. "One of them is right there, watching. They want the book, Jessica. They keep asking for the book." I stared at the empty corner, a wave of nausea washing over me. I saw nothing but the certainty in his voice, the fear in his eyes. It was terrifying. I backed out of his room, the goosebumps returning. Since then, things have remained tense and strange. Michael is mostly normal. He goes to school, hangs out with friends though fewer than before, scrolls through his phone. But then there are the moments. Moments I catch him staring blankly at a wall, his fingers tracing invisible patterns in the air. Times, I hear him whispering in his room, or find him standing stock still in the yard, looking up at the sky, as if listening to someone I can't see. I've tried everything I can think of. I searched online for hours: possessions, schizophrenia, psychic phenomena, folklore about dark entities. Nothing quite fits. I found a Bible and left it open in his room. Nothing changed. I even tried playing recordings of prayers softly when he wasn't around. No reaction. He remains unchanged, alternating between unnerving normalcy and these brief, terrifying glimpses into whatever this is. I haven't told anyone the full extent of it. Not my mom, not Lisa, definitely not any friends. How could I? They'd think he's crazy, or I am. In a town like this, reputations are fragile. People talk. A label like that could ruin his future, reflect badly on all of us. So I'm writing this, sending it out into the void. Has anyone else ever encountered something like this? A sudden, inexplicable change in someone? Knowledge they shouldn't possess? These recurring figures, the 4 men in black, chained, demanding a mysterious book? Is it psychological? Supernatural? I'm terrified for my brother, for my family. I don't know what to do or who to turn to. If you have any insight, any experience, any interpretation at all, please help me understand what is happening to Michael and what, in God's name, am I supposed to do?